welcome back to 13 Nights of Tiki Frights. We are sponsored by Plantation Rum. Thank you to Plantation Rum for sponsoring 13 Nights of Tiki Frights. We have our cocktail made by mixing up tiki for us here tonight, Tree of the Dead. The cocktail recipe is on our Instagram. And we're super excited tonight for two reasons. A, we're going to be giving away this gargoyle mug, which people were going crazy about, from Trader Sam's Enchanted Tiki Bar. But more importantly, we're going to be talking to the maestro of tiki, Holden Westland, from Tiki Farm. Tiki Farm is the world's largest manufacturer of high-end tiki mugs. Most of the tiki bars you go to today in the United States and beyond, you go in there and they will have some form of Tiki Farm mug. They do thousands of mugs. I'm super excited to talk to Holden. So with that said, we're going to watch a quick video and then we're going to get him in here. What's happening, buddy?
Hey, Gabe, what's going on?
It's good to see you.
Thank you, bro.
The king of tiki in his peacock chair.
Yeah. Another hard-working day.
Well, that's what people say, right? You're the hardest working man at tiki.
That's not a self-appointed title. That's from an old.
It's not self-appointed. Kind of unfortunate. Well, it's great to have you here. I'm super stoked to talk to you.
Thank you.
You've been one of the biggest supporters of my website, The Search for Tiki, since it started. It's really hard finding photos and content to upload all the mugs on Tiki Farm, and letting me use your photos and just supporting us, in all the ways that Tiki Farm does. Thank you so much. And I'm super excited to have you here. You've been here for, let's see, Tiki Farm was founded, was it 2000?
That's right.
That's 2 decades, man. Does it feel like 2 decades?
It doesn't. I mean, in some days it feels more like 3, and some days it feels like yesterday. It depends upon the grind of the day and what looms the next day. It's never ending. It's always changing.
Do you remember, or sometimes it's hard to remember on those hard days, why you got into it? What got you into tiki?
The brass tacks of that, it was a byproduct of eBachelor Pad. And eBachelor Pad was a early .com dial-up era business, whereas it was everything under one roof, the ultimate bachelor pad, and tiki was part of that. And I enjoyed the tiki element of eBachelor Pad, quite a bit. And the mugs were kind of the focal point of the past of what I was collecting, because I've been collecting tiki or tiki ephemera since the mid-90s, but I just was allured by the mugs, and mugs that I was able to sell early on were not of the greatest caliber quality. So certainly.
What was the collecting scene back then? Was it $300-$400 mugs?
No.
You finding them?
It was $3 or $4 thrift shop mugs, thrift store mugs.
Big one.
Yeah, no, there was no $300 or $400 mugs back then. I mean, there were mugs that were valuable to those in the know, but intrinsically the value then compared to the value now, it's a whole different ballgame.
How was so when you started in 2000, what was the tiki scene overall? Like, what was going on? What was happening?
There's about 35 of us, maybe 40 or so, at least regionally, but there were people that would travel to come and see us. There was maybe 50 of us in total. Take that with a grain of salt. I can't say that with impunity, but I'm pretty sure something like that. And it was very naive. It was gatherings. It was fun. It was craft cocktails, experimentation. It was the mid-century vibe. It was the aesthetic, the apparel, the music. It was very sweet. It was very sweet and very, just very gentle, very gentle. Yeah.
When you say it's like 50 people, like, how did you guys even get in touch with each other? Like, are you going to people's houses? Were there?
There was a website called Tiki Central, and it was a forum, and I think it's still out there. I'm pretty sure it is. And it was we were pretty active on it, and there was, you could pretty much name the 50 or so. It grew over time, but there was a lot of us that were active early on. And I believe it started originally as like a shag fan site, actually, if memory serves me properly. And so that was our hub. That was how we got to know each other. Tiki Central.
Is that how you met Shag? Because you guys, I mean, I think some of your
No,
earliest
I
Tiki
knew
mugs
Shag.
are Shag
No, I
mugs.
didn't meet Shag through Tiki Central. I met Shag just through loving his art, and we kind of, even though we didn't share the same group of friends, we kind of ran in the same kind of circle of what we were enthusiastic about and loved. And I don't really recall exactly how we met. I remember where we met and when we met. We met at his house in, it was 2000. And it was through eBachelor Pad was kind of starting to kind of, I don't know, kind of fade into the ether. And Tiki Farm was still new and growing and fledgling. And I approached Josh Shag to want to create something, design something. And I didn't know what I wanted to do. And we'd only made 4 mugs to date, I believe. Yeah, that's correct. And I asked him if he'd like to design something. He said, yeah, I like what you're doing. It's cool. It's different. It's fresh. He said, what do you want to do? And I didn't know. And I said, how about throw pillows? And he laughed. He said, that's not the
Wait,
great.
so were you making Tiki mugs at this point?
I was, but I wasn't connecting all the dots yet, man. I was still.
You went to throw pillows?
I don't, yes. Yeah, I mean,
Come on, Holden. I'm embarrassed for you.
Bro. Guess what he's making now?
Throw pillows?
So anyways, we landed on mugs, which, I don't know. And then he wanted to turn one of them into a lamp, and we did. We didn't know, but we got the UL information on how to properly assemble a lamp to code, and we did. And the rest is kind of history.
The rest is history. So like in those days, where did you even get started? Like, where did you go to get Tiki mugs made?
All right. So it was a company called California Design Works. And let's see here. It was, they're in Highland. And it's a historical building, an old kiln. And I brought on Squid to design and sculpt. Squid was my wingman, for the very first year of Tiki Farm. And found a guy to make them, through the internet. Even though it was 2000, the internet's nowhere near what it is now. And I found a guy to make them, and we were making them in small runs, and I sell them online through eBachelor Pad, and maybe selling 50 per design per month. Maybe I had 4 designs, and that factory is now Bauer.
Okay.
Bauer.
Yeah. They're moving, right? I think they just got their lease ended or something, so they're shifting locations.
I heard something along those lines. There's a lot of stuff out there that you might allude to that I just throw blinders on. I work really hard, so I heard something about that, and I wish them the best. I hope they're gonna,
You kind of have to when you got that much going on. Social media is distracting.
Yeah.
And we need you to pump out all the mugs. So someone take Holden's phone away. Do you remember what your first mug was? Was it a Tiki? Was it something completely random?
No, it's a Tiki. It was a mug called Dental. In fact, I meant to send you a photo of it before this. It was a mug called Dental, and we made 3 of them. And it was in a light green glaze. 2 are owned by old time collectors. And the first one, I was so proud of it. I put it up on eBay, and I remember putting the title "Greatest Tiki Mug Ever." And hindsight, it wasn't.
I'm not going to like where this goes.
No, I was enthusiastic about it. So, okay, well, actually, I wasn't going to go there, but I will. So, I got an email about 3 or 4 years ago from a guy, and with an attachment, he said, "Hey, do you know what this mug is?" And it was that mug. And the guy said, "Does it have any value?" And I mean, having value, it's our very first mug, and there was 3, so it's 1 of 3. They're all the same color. I mean, it's got value to me, but maybe in the terms of historically speaking of Tiki Farm and being a collector's piece, sure, it's got value. But I let him know. I said, "Listen, that's the first mug that I made. That's one of 3 variants. I would be willing to pay you $500 for that mug. You might find somebody else who's willing to pay you more, but if I were you, I'd just hold on to it. And that was the last I heard from that guy. That was about 3 or 4 years ago. Yeah, kind of tripped me out.
So somewhere that mug is still floating around in the ether. It's going to pop up again.
Yeah,
there's the internet.
Well,
Hopefully, when it does pop up, people don't realize what it is, and then we can get hold of his mug back.
There it is. That's it right there.
That's it.
Yeah, that's it.
Were all 3 green?
All 3 were green, and then we did maybe 2. No, there's 3. All 3 were green. One of 2 means that there was actually a purple one that we ran as well too. That's a little off on my nomenclature there, but we did a purple and we did a green. Green was just the first 3 prototypes, and then the glaze. The glaze, I think the glaze started crazing, as I recall. Not exactly sure.
That happens.
Yeah.
I don't see. I was always under the impression that crazing. This is one of those things that I've always been kind of confused about. Maybe you can clear the air for me, or maybe not. Crazing, I know, happens in the kiln when like the glaze and the clay body are firing at different temperatures. But you also see it a lot of times just with age, like on vintage tiki mugs, they craze over time.
Well, this one was a crazing glaze. This was a crazing glaze. So it wasn't the right glaze. We didn't know what we were doing. It was a crazing glaze. But there's another term. I think it's called shivering is the term that you're talking about when there's a difference in the coefficient of shrinkage factor between the clay and the glaze, which is I had a really horrible situation happen with that early on that I had to replace a bunch of mugs, whereas we weren't able to test the mugs and the interior glaze outshrunk the exterior glaze. And over time, these mugs were on people's shelves and they were produced for a very large entity. And when the phenomena of this whatever combination of the glaze and the clay happened, it made this massive popping sound, it sounded like splitting bamboo. And a lot of people have bamboo in their pads, so they're like, what the heck is this? What's that sound? Where's my bamboo splitting? And then they found this mug, and then they realized what it was. We had to replace all of them. FedEx overnight shipment signature required at our expense, and it was a huge situation.
There are plenty of those in ceramics.
Yeah, I try my best to have learned from that experience those 23 years ago and never have that ever happen again.
Have you been largely successful?
Yeah, no, yes. Yeah,
Sir,
we have. There's occasions things happen. It's not a perfect world. Ceramics are a very organic, groove. So things can happen. Production runs can differ from first article samples. Elements can go out in kilns. Compounds that make up glazes can change over time because, they're dug out of the earth and things happen. But for the most part, we do everything we can to keep run a tight ship.
Tight ship, yeah. And some glazes are kind of reactive too, like they're supposed to do special things, and then you might fire one and it does the special thing that you like, and then you fire a second one and it does the special thing that you don't like. Ooh, what are you drinking from, Holden? What is that?
I'm drinking from a forthcoming design.
Ooh, doggies!
This is
Dude.
a commission piece.
Who designed that?
For an undisclosed client that's going to be coming out pretty soon. Zombie Soldier. Pretty cool.
That is insane.
I love the glaze. It's like Army Green Man green.
Yep. Can we see the back?
Sure.
Or does that reveal it?
It's just got the bullet belt hanging over the shoulder.
Yep.
Nice.
Dude, that's so cool.
Right on. Yeah, I dig it. Feels really good in the hand too.
I'm super into all the like World War II style mugs. That's my jam.
That's cool. Yeah, I'm a fan of that aesthetic, that era. I got a father who was a bombardier and a liberator. I'm a very young child in a pretty big family of. I'm the last of the baby boom. I think I'm the last year, and so I have a fascination for it, a natural fascination.
All right, dude. So going back to the previous conversation, is 2000 or a little after 2000. Tiki is not what it is today. How do we get from there to now? Who were the people that that made tiki culture happen today? Because obviously tiki culture has kind of come in and out of fashion. I don't know if you agree with this, but I would say it's probably never been as popular as it is today. At least the mug collecting aspect of it.
Yeah. So who are the people that are popular today? Is that what you're saying, or who are the people that were popular back in?
So who do we have to thank, in your opinion, for tiki culture today as it is?
Okay, that's a pretty big list, and I hope I don't leave anybody out. I'll start with, I think what everybody knows are the sage elders. And that's Sven Kirsten, Otto von Stroheim, Shag, and then there's so many that are just right there in the wings, and there could be others right in that forefront position. But there's Jeff Barry, there's Monk Tiki. There is Bosco, of course, Bosco Hernjack. Bosco should be put in that first grouping. And then there's all the people, the artists, the players, the enthusiasts. And like I said, like I said earlier, I said the community was about 50 deep, and that's pretty close to accurate. I can't name everybody in that community, but if you go back and look in time, I'll throw out names here that maybe not all the viewers might know, but like Sabu, the Coconut Boy, Dr. Z. Of course, there's Bamboo Ben and Crazy Al. But then if you want to make like a left turn and kind of go down Lowbrow Road, you got Von Franco and you got the Piz. And then you've got even local artist Jimmy Cleveland. A lot of these guys were Ed Roth, very much so influenced. A few of them in particular. Then there's people who have a role in the whole mid-century modern lowbrow culture groove that aren't necessarily responsible for the tiki movement, but they're responsible for the whole greater kind of lowbrow scene. And let's call tiki not kind of necessarily the dirtier end of it, but let's call a little bit more the not quite so polished end of it, not so like Eames era architecture style. Let's call it a little bit deviant, okay, for lack of a better term. So then you could say, well, Robert Williams has a role, but Robert Williams, I have a funny story. I'm not going to share it, but what the hell is all this tiki stuff? I don't get it, man. But anyways, he kind of laid some groundwork. Then you have all the artists, the artists that have been doing it passionately for a long, long time. Joe Vitale, Flounder, Derek Yaniger, Big Toe, Ken Ruzick, Donella Vitale, and then Sam Gambino, what have you. Then you have the mixologists, and like I said, Jeff Barry. So it's an amalgamation. It's a lot bigger. I mean, maybe it's bigger than 50, but there's a lot of core different people with different elements that make it what it is. Craft cocktail, tiki, mid-century, like Shag, and edification, for lack of a better term, Sven Kirsten, enlightenment, urban archaeology. Then you have the makers, Bosco, Monk Tiki, Tiki Farm, an old company, defunct company, Into the Volcano. They were around for a while. And then it just fanned out, man. It just fanned out. It's a fun groove. So I'm asking.
Do you think it was, looking back, do you think the rebirth of tiki, if you'll say, was intentional, or do you think it was more happenstance?
Can I say it's a little bit of both? Because it's intentional, because craft cocktails, to create a craft cocktail is intentional. All right. Happenstance is the fun vibe that goes along with it. It just happens to be a very escapist, groovy vibe, So it's happenstance in the sense that it's gonna take you away to places, and you want it to. That's the whole thing about tiki, is escapism. That's at its core. But it's intentional in terms of the refinement of the craft cocktails. And then the mugs, of course, are very intentional. Mugs aren't haphazard or happenstance. They're very planned. So and then the people, if you go back in the day, it was full happenstance. We were just having a good time. There was not all these mug makers. There was none of this. Social media was virtually nil, if not nil. I don't know, when Facebook came about. Hell, I mean, we even had a MySpace page, and thank God that went away. But
Yeah, I agree with you there.
it was very naive, and it was so sweet and so fun, and it still is. It's just, listen, when I go to Tiki Oasis 20 years ago, whatever, I knew 95+% of the people, and we knew each other by name. And I'm not just talking about when it was 50 people, or so. I'm talking about as it grew, and 5 years, 6 or 7 years into it, 50 people became 500 people. Okay, it just grew. It's just a wonderful way to spend your time with people, listening to music, having nice beverages, looking at really goofy, fun clothes. And, it's fashion conscious, very fashion conscious. And now it's just this massive thing.
It's almost like it's been unchained, right? And it's kind of doing its own thing at this point, in some ways. But like I think I almost would say that in the beginning, I say in the beginning. I don't mean in the beginning because that'd be what, the 60s, 50s. But the time that we're talking about in the early 2000s, I think it was more intentional than it is now. And now it's just kind of like blown up, and everybody's doing their own things, and it's become its own untamable beast.
Well, like any good thing, it's become popularized. There are some of us within it, in the movement, that kind of covet it and don't want it to be what it's become. But then there are those of us who have staffs of people both here and at our factories that rely upon it to put food on the table for their families. So I've never really coveted it so much as I have welcomed it to everybody. I've wanted to welcome it to everybody. I mean, that's a big reason why we do whatever you want to call. If you want to call it mass production, you can call it that, because we're still a very small company, all right? But that is why we have opportunities to. We've had every opportunity to change course, because we have the economies of scale. We've developed the economies of scale to become the company that we want to be, whatever that is. Okay. So instead of going in a direction, whereas we're doing predominantly low runs for exponential sums, we still love putting it out there for the masses, for the people. We love the engagement that we have with our clients that want to take it to their realm of wherever they are in this globe and share it with their people within reason, aka reasonably priced. So I think that might be the road. What is it? Lesser traveled? Is that the term?
Mm-hmm. Robert Frost, right?
We don't mind. We love our groove, and we love what it does for the whole community, and we hope that it benefits the whole community. We think that it does. And it's a big sandlot, bro. It's a big sandlot. There's room for plenty to play,
Yeah. I love the fact that we're seeing so many different artists coming into the tiki mug scene and designing cool things. And if I get on my soapbox for a second,
sure.
Dude, I think the tiki mug industry is today what it is today because of you and other manufacturers on the large scale, because we feature a lot of, the local small artists that do small batch runs. But at the end of the day, it's those mementos that you get at the tiki bar, the slice of paradise that you're bringing home that's affordable, that makes tiki what it is today, right? Tiki is a vacation for the people that can't afford to be on vacation. It's approachable, it's an escape. And so I don't know if we would have the small batch ceramic tiki mug industry that we have today without players like Tiki Farm, who are making it affordable. People don't just drop $300 on a tiki mug. They need those entry tiki mugs, and that's not to say that you guys don't have collectible mugs. We'll feature some of those later on. They go for hundreds and hundreds of dollars, but there is something to be said for a tiki mug that you can buy for $50 today. And I think the industry needs that. So
sounds reasonable to me.
Thank you to that. One thing I love about you in particular, Holden, when I visited your office in California, okay, I'm a mug nerd. So I go into your office and it's It's a mug nerd's paradise. You got tiki mugs everywhere since you've refurbished, your museum, Tiki Farm Museum, or whatever you want to call it. And you were there, and so like I'm asking you about the mugs, and you were steering me to all these paintings that you have on your walls there. Different art, like the one behind you. Actually, I think Piz did, and you had one in your room with the printer and all this stuff. You were just really excited to talk about these artists, and so I think there's Holden, the mug maker, the hardest working guy in Tiki, but there's also that art collector, Holden, who just really loves seeing cool shit get made by cool people, and it shows.
Oh, yeah.
It shows in your mugs when you do the showcases with all these artists. And I have to wonder, like, how do you decide which artists to work with, and what is that kind of like workflow process on collaboration?
Well, so we'll take the IP or whatever the vibe that's coming at us from our clients, and we'll do our best to kind of evaluate it and assign it accordingly to somebody, whoever we feel might have the most fun with it, might be able to execute it the best, might be able to exceed expectations. We're always hoping to exceed expectations. So there's no real methodology behind it. It's also who's got free time to help us out, who needs some extra ching in their wallet, and it's a multitude of factors. There's no rhyme or reason. We have a lot of people that we work with quite a bit just because I've developed personal relationships with them, and working with them on projects is an excuse for me to hang out and talk and kick back.
100%.
Yeah, I get that luxury. Yeah,
yep.
And I'm very grateful for that as being part of my working life, for sure. It makes those longer days a little shorter, It does.
I do. I get that. So I work in propane, which that's my full-time job. That's what pays the bills. It's not Tiki. Tiki's a hobby for me, despite what some people might think. And so when I'm working on a Tiki mug, I'm working with an artist that just inspires me, that I like their stuff. A lot of their stuff I've seen, made with Tiki Farm, like Tom Laura, Big Toe, and Doug Horn. Ken Ruzick, I got to make a mug with you at some point. All of those guys and plenty more. I love it because you're introducing people to a whole bunch of artists through your mugs, through Tiki Farm. And we get to, follow a whole bunch of people on Instagram and see not just what their mugs they're creating, but also all their art. And so I think it's really cool. On a side note, going back to the problems of scalability, Tiki mugs are just huge, right? Everybody wants a Tiki mug, but ceramics are a gruelingly slow process. Grueling. And I don't know if there's really anything that can be done. I mean, people will sometimes kind of knock on mugs for being made in China or made in Mexico. But as far as I know, they're making mugs the exact same way. There are no shortcuts in mugs. So I'm just wondering, have there been do we have a scalability problem in Tiki? Have there been any advances in the past 20 years that make the process a little easier?
Oh, really? No, I saw no, I did see one thing one time that was pretty cool, and I tried to get my hands on this piece of equipment, and I'll tell you guys what I saw. So if anybody's running a small operation, they want to increase their volume, I'll share a little secret with you. There was a guy that was producing tabletopware, ceramicware, and he had a very limited footprint, but he had, I'm going to call it almost like a pulley system. There's a name for it. He had his working surface was on this system. You could crank it by hand, and then as he had slip cast an entire row of mugs, that row would go up to here, and all of a sudden he'd have a fresh row presented to him, and he'd slip cast that row of mugs, and he had it timed out so that by the time that the equipment came back around to the working level, it was time to pour out the slip, and I thought that was pretty cool.
That's wild.
That's not going to do anything infinitesimal, but it was pretty creative. I respected the guy for that. It was a very limited footprint, and I was impressed with seeing that and the volume increase that he was able to get just as a result of that. He made it himself. It's pretty cool.
Do you know what the largest run you've ever done of one mug?
I don't off the top of my head, Gabe, but for some
Just
reason, I've got a number of 35,000 on a single.
Holy smokes!
Mug for one run for something in the past, and I don't recall what it was, and I'm not sure if that statement's 100% accurate. That's just sticking in my head for some reason.
How do you determine on your own mugs which ones are going to be limited editions and which ones are going to be open editions? Is there like a method behind the madness of that?
Not really. Not really. No. A lot of it has to do with where we're going to be producing it. Let's see here. No, I mean, we just, the bulk of what we do is what is in this industry. It's an open edition, but in most industries, what we do as an open edition is minuscule. That's tiki, although it's blown up and mugs are blown up, are just a very small percentage of the ceramic, if you will, tabletop drinkware world. Generally, it's where we're produced. We're doing lower runs out of Mexico. We also have the ability to have our clients buy in those quantities as well too. And by low run, I mean 500 units, but we can run less. I mean, I could run 50 units if I wanted to, and I choose not to because it's just as much work for us to do 50 mugs as it is 5,000 mugs, for example. It's all the same.
The design, right, and the molds. There's all that. If you're going to make 50 mugs, then you're dividing all that expense over the course of 50 mugs rather than.
Yeah, it's just where we are as a company, and I'm fine with it. I like being. Again, we get back to placing the mugs out there for the people that are new to it or have limited budgets or can appreciate a high quality product at a very fair price. We're all about quality and price and consistency. So that's who we are, and I'm happy with it. I like that path that we've chosen, and so we just kind of stay in that groove. So our limiteds are very far and few in between, and we'll just keep on trucking because it keeps us busy, man. It keeps us busy, bro.
Keeps you busy. But you need some sleep too, dude. You can't. The Energizer Bunny, Tiki Farm. Over there.
No, it's all good. It's all good. I sleep like a baby, and I drink copious amounts of caffeine during the day to make. So it's like
cheers to that.
Daily
cocktail. It's not caffeine, but
crash and burn. Daily crash and burn.
You've been in this 20 plus years. Do you have do you feel like your ability to determine which mugs are going to be lightning in a bottle is pretty solid, or are you still surprised sometimes by what takes off, if you will?
I never know how it's going to go.
Never know.
Never. I have thought certain mugs are just going to be the highest flyers, and then we've worked on certain designs like that is the stupidest thing I've ever made, and then it turns out to be our best-selling design of the year. Swear.
I love that. How like when you're producing tiki mugs, you'll come up with a design, right, and you'll throw out a number 500. And be like, okay, I don't know how I'm going to sell this. God, if it doesn't sell, what's going to happen? And then that mug ends up selling out in 30 seconds, okay? Inevitably, on social media, you'll get tons of comments, tons of messages. Why didn't you make more? Why didn't you make more tiki mugs? But you could also do the
what
same.
Happens when
and they don't sell out.
When we make too many. Right. I go to people and say, why don't you buy them? Oh, because you don't like it? Well, that's a fair enough reason, So we're in this catbird seat, whereas we have to do our best to make the best decision that we can, and we're not always right, man. There's no crystal ball, but I guess we've been able to finesse it down to a little bit better of a range over the years. But I never know, man. We had a mug we did years ago called Mihana. I think hopefully most everybody here is familiar with that mug. It's pretty historically important, and Kevin and Jody Daly did it for us, and it was part of their. Mihana is Anaheim spelled backwards. It's the god of the orange grove. And it's a wonderful design, but I thought it was so left of center for the time. I'm like, I'm not going to, this thing is not going to sell. And I think we made like 7,000 of them. They're all made in California back early on. Yeah. And I thought it was.
We got it right. I think we got it right here, right?
Oh, right on. That's it. Well, that's old school. That's an old school promo that I did. Yeah, I recognize that.
Talking about movers and shakers, Kevin Kidney and Jody Daly.
Yeah, well, they're part of the old guard too. They're another facet of it. You know, they're part of the old guard as well, for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, if you want to talk old guard, then you're talking Rolly Crump.
Well, that's OG,
That's
right?
The old guard.
Walt Disney's Enchanted Tiki Room.
Well, if you're talking, yeah, of course. If you're talking old guard, well, you're talking Walt Disney, you're talking Rolly Crump, you're talking Victor Bergeron, and you're talking Raymond Ernest Gant. You know, those are your guys. Then there's the guy from the Luau in L.A., Stephen Crane, right? Luau, right? Yeah. And
with all the, that's another thing I don't understand, right? Because Stephen Crane mugs, they call them clown tiki because they have all the colors. But then some people refer to mugs that they don't like as clown tiki, as like a derogatory thing. So I'm always like, okay, the same people that love Stephen Crane mugs that are calling them clown tiki are using clown tiki as like a derogatory.
All right, so listen,
sometimes
the mug looks like a clown.
Yeah.
People like me who hate clowns.
Yes.
So why not call it a clown?
I'm right there with you. But John Mulder paints clowns.
Well, certain people love clowns and certain people love scooters. Yeah.
Here we go. For the people watching, these are the Steve Crane mugs, and they go for big bucks.
Mm-hmm.
I honestly, okay, correct me if I'm wrong. I think the only reason these things sell for big bucks, because I'm going to go out on a limb and say they're kind of hideous, okay? They go for big bucks because they were in Sven Kirsten's book.
That could have something very well to do with it.
You know? But, you know, I'm sure there are going to be some people. If you hate me in the comments, you can unfollow me on Instagram, whatever. Steve Crane, the kind of hideous. But I like him for the history. Kudos to Sven Kirsten for pumping up the value of those ones. Do you have a mug that you've made through Tiki Farm? This might be a hard question. That sticks out as your personal favorite, one that you just like really had fun making.
Okay, so there's a trio that I did about 7 or 8 years ago with a guy by the name of Randy Bain. His tiki name was Chongolio. And we had this really creative back and forth where we took 3 designs that Randy, they were prior to our current classics, our last classics that we had. And they were traditional mugs, very traditionally shaped. And Randy and I worked, Randy lived in Hawaii at the time. And we'd talk on the weekends because it was the only time that both of us were free. And then he's a great guy. And we were able to evolve these together through like 5 or 6 or 7 different steps. And I was really proud of how they came out. And I have more of a hand in those than I do in most mugs. So those are probably my favorites because it gets back to me working with a friend of mine. And he's in Hawaii. So it was an excuse to have a weekly banner with a buddy of mine for a couple of months. That was pretty special. Yeah.
That's what it's all about. Yeah, I don't know if you can say this or not, but is there any mug that like you really like that never came to fruition for whatever reason?
That never came to fruition. I'm sure there is. We have a mug that never came to fruition how it was intended to come to fruition, but it came to fruition nonetheless.
Okay.
And that was our Mad Mark Tiki mug, our 31st design that we did about 2002 or 3. And it was originally going to be for this brand new fledgling show that was coming out as a cast and crew gift. But the person that I was working with, I believe it was CBS, just kind of vanished. And we had developed this mug with the logo, the CBS logo on the back, and then the name of the show on the back. And it was this brand new show called Survivor. And they wanted like a tiki mug for given, it was, I forget where the first episode was shot anyways, but it was appropriate for their groove back then. And so we just took Survivor off the back, took CBS and just sold it as an open edition. Yeah, that mark. That's it. That's the original glaze tip. And that's one of my favorite mugs because it fits really good in the hand. And it's just if a mug can be versatile, whatever. That's a versatile mug. Easy to clean. Hold about 16 ounces.
Here's a question for you. Not to be a tangent, but Tiki Farm mugs are, dude, they're durable. They are super durable, way more durable than a lot of the artist-made mugs. You can.
Yeah.
I'm not recommending anybody do this, but you can take them, you can slam them on the counter,
Yeah.
and they'll probably survive.
Well,
Anytime
so-
I have friends over, I feel confident giving them Tiki Farm mugs. So
Thank
I
you.
guess my question is, what are some of the things that Tiki Farm does in the manufacturing process that makes them built to last, so to speak, given that they're ceramic?
It's our firing profile. It's our materials used. It's the setup time on the slip cast piece to create the wall thickness that it does. It is durability is part of that makes up durable. Then what makes up the other part of them built to last is they last because they've gone through a pretty rigorous QC inspection at the front of the production and at the end of the production, and nothing. We do our best, even with our volume, to make sure that nothing gets out the door that hasn't passed our standards. Quality never goes out of style. So I know that sounds cliche, but it's important.
Dude, quality control is important when you're, and I know you can't talk about this. I know you can't talk about it, but white labeling products for big companies, very, very large tiki companies that have very high standards on quality. It's hard to land those deals, man. And you've got some of those deals, so, that's a testament to the quality of Tiki Farm that these big companies will work with you. At this point, so white label product for people that don't know is mugs that are made that don't necessarily have Tiki Farm on them. They're not advertised as Tiki Farm products. Do you know what percentage of the business at this point is like that people might not even know they're Tiki Farm mugs?
There's a lot of products out there that have been of our hand that nobody knows about, even aside from ones that you guys know about, just through proxy and through osmosis. When it's light duty, it's maybe 15% of what we do. When it's heavy duty, at any given time, it could be 50% of what we do. Sometimes more. If we've got some big fish on the line, we have to divert and take care of those clients, those important clients. And these ones can stand a little bit of waiting time. And I'm talking about our designs, not for our clients. We never push off commissions, but we have to put our own designs on the back burner sometimes. Maybe once or twice in our history, it's maybe 80% of our production has been white label. I didn't even know what that term was. So thank you.
There you go. So how is it determined which mugs get the Tiki Farm logo on the bottom and which do not?
Okay. So you mean the ones where if it's a commission and our logo is not on the bottom?
Yeah. The big clients aside.
Sure. So we like for people to have us put our logo on the bottom because we do so much work that goes into it. But we're not dead set on it. I mean, if they've got, let's say the mug has, for example, limited branding space because it's got a hell of a lot of architectural relief on it, if you will, figural relief. And the only place you can brand is on the bottom. And the bottom's generally a footprint only this big or whatever on most mugs. We'll gladly brand for them. I'm grateful that they're stepping up. Some of these people, Gabe, they're stepping up and doing 1,000 mugs. And their whole history, their whole premise is food and drink. And they're putting a pretty sizable investment into what we do. So if they don't want us to brand the bottom because they need to brand it for their own purposes, we have no problem with that. Do we wish for them to? Yeah, we think it adds value because then the people know that they're getting a quality product, But it's a case-by-case situation. And we're cool either way.
I just have this thought. I don't know if you can answer this or not. Have there ever been approached with a mug that was like too weird that you'd be like, I don't know if I can put Tiki Farm on that?
Oh God, I don't even want to name one of them. Yeah, we've surely we have. But what we have to do is you have to stand back and think about it this way as well too. People are very enthusiastic when they reach out to us. Sometimes super enthusiastic. Enthusiasm and design skills don't necessarily go hand in hand because not everybody, listen, there's a lot of talent. I'm amazed every day at how much talent there is in this world. But there's also people that can't really execute what they have in their head, but they want to give you a representation of it. And the representation, well, it might be a little off. Okay, let's just keep it let's keep it gentle and kind. But it's our job to take their vision, their sketch, or whatever they give us, and to come back to them and say, is this really what you're seeing? Is this what you want to see? Because let's face it, I mean, if somebody gives us a stick man and they say we want this thing to be, you know, whatever, this stick man, we want to turn this stick man into this mug. Well, it's our job to work with them to make that happen. And so have we ever seen any really bad designs? Sure. Aside from that, yeah, we've seen some that are just ridiculous. But we need to be able to share our vision and share our experience and bring their aspirations to a really beautiful, tangible reality that everybody's proud of.
I'm kind of surprised I don't know the answer to this question, but I think it's because like I go to designers and I have them design mugs, and then when I work with you, I just send you the designs. Does Tiki Farm have like a in-house designer, or if someone comes with you like a concept, do you send them in the direction of someone you
Tank,
think could do it?
Tank, come over here, ladies and gentlemen. This is my very dear old friend and Tiki Farm art director extraordinaire, Tank.
How's it going, Tank?
Buffalo. God, I was giving him the whole roll. Cut it off there.
Tank, I'm actually excited to see you because I have seen your mugs for years, and I never knew what the face was behind Tank Standing Buffalo. So
That's me.
That's you. So if anyone has an idea in mind, Tank's your guy.
Tank came down here on a Tank is a old friend of mine that I met at the Calgary Arts and Tattoo Festival about 15 years ago or something like that. Tank, actually, 16 years ago. Yeah, and Tank came here to Tiki Farm. He's been here since July. Yeah. But he's done a lot of work for us. Tank has touched probably well over 100 mugs that we've done, and he's just he's a confidant. He's trustworthy. He's hardworking, very hardworking, and
Colin.
oh no! There's Colin. I didn't see Tank. There's Kenny.
Kenny Ruzick, Colin Schultz.
I don't know who's watching. Ruzick. Oh my God. So, anyways, Tank came on down on a special talent visa, exceptional talent visa, and Tank is living the dream, but he's working to live it. And he is my right hand man, and he'll be handing all artistic direction henceforth with all of our clients. Taking a little bit of load off of my plate, and also he'll be working with our contributing artists like that knucklehead Ruzick who posted that thing. Just gonna have to
Tank, I'm sorry you have to deal with Kenny Ruzick. I wouldn't wish that upon my worst enemy. I mean, at least you're getting paid to deal with Kenny Ruzick.
Kenny's a lovely nutbag, and so anyways, this is Tank.
All right,
back to work, brother.
Back to work.
Thanks, Tank.
So that answers that question.
Keeping on that train. Someone comes to you, they got a design, they want to get made, Tiki mugs. Tank's their guy. He's going to help design it up. What is the what's the minimum order quantity? What information do you need from someone who's looking to get a mug made at Tiki Farm right now today?
Pretty standard. We have it in our customs page. What we do, we run 1,000-unit runs mostly out of our offshore Asia factory. We'll do 500-unit runs out of Mexico. We'll even bend the rule on those a little bit if people need to run less, but it just depends upon what we have going and if we can throw our energies after a 250-unit run versus a 500 or 1,000-unit run. And did that answer your question?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Have are all the shipping? I know the tiki mug industry was kind of reeling, like many industries, from COVID with the shipping delays from overseas. Are those completely over at this point?
Tiki Farm was never impacted by COVID. We never had any delays. Our factories are too savvy, and they figured out ways to work within the constraints of their protocol and government. I heard about all these shipping delays that were being talked about out there, and I never saw them.
Nice.
Yeah. So
Hard to beat that answer. Yeah. I would like to, if it's okay with you, I kind of want to take a little deep dive into a couple mugs that Tiki Farm has made in the past.
okay.
Is that cool?
Yes,
Some
sir.
of the perhaps the Grail Tiki mugs. I
Okay.
posted the photo promoting this interview of a particular
Alright.
mug, Magnum PI.
Oh wow. Okay.
Mug. I must have gotten 20 messages saying, "Hey, I want that mug. Are you doing a giveaway for that mug?" I was like, "No, I am not doing a giveaway for the Magnum PI mug." But how did that particular mug? I'm gonna pull it up here. How did that one come about? Did you know it was going to be as big as it is?
No. In fact, so we ran it, and we ran it as part of the Hawaiian Idol series, designed for us by Thor, which included Bookham Dano, Jack Lords, Da King, Elvis, and Hawaiian Don Ho. And what happened was they were very new, very unique, very new, very left of center for their time. And we did our run of 1,000 units per, and they were just flying out the door. I mean, just
Were those,
flying out.
not to interrupt, were those made all at the same time? Or were they like iterations, one after the other?
They were all made as a group. They were all made at one time. So what happened is they were selling like nobody's business. And then a month or so into the sales, I decided we need to do another run. These are awesome. We got to do another run. People want these, and we don't have enough to supply the demand out there. So I got the other one going, and it was another run of 1,000. And about a month or so after the run of 1,000 was in production, the sales of the original ones just stopped. They just stopped. All of a sudden, we've got like 300 or 400 per style still left. This is back in the day where in 3 or 4 months selling 600 mugs in any design was a lot. Okay. And they stopped. So I call up my team. I'm like, you guys, hold the presses, hold the presses. We're sitting on inventory. They said, too late. Sorry, so sorry. Have a nice day. I'm like, oh crap. Because I was, this is early on in tiki farming. Our coffers weren't, that deep. And so we had to take care of our payments for the second run, which ended up taking us about a year plus to sell. So fortunately, they did sell. But then as time passed, all of a sudden, for whatever reason, this Magnum mug of the grouping of the four, and all four were rad, became kind of like this sub-counterculture, whatever you want to call it, like icon. And then we're getting like emails and calls from like grandmas saying, he's got such a cute butt. I'm like, well, the mug doesn't even have a butt. I know, but he's such a handsome man. Do you have any of those back in the warehouse? I'm like, no, ma'am, they're all gone. Well, how dare you? How dare you deny this fragile petal of a lady? And we were laughing because we were getting all these requests for them. We're like, it's done, it's gone, it's done, it's over. Let's not beat a dead horse. And then they started going in for crazy prices on eBay. But even to this day, we'll have people call and say, you got any of those Magnums out back or this out back? And it's just like, no, we know why you're called. We know you know. So no, you don't. Yeah, it was weird. Like again, I never know, my friend. I never know which ones are gonna stick and which ones won't. And that one stuck, and then it didn't, and then it did, and then boy, did it ever.
To this day, do you have any idea why, out of the set, the Magnum PI is perhaps the most sought after?
Dolphin shorts? I don't know, dude. I don't know.
Your guess is as good as mine.
Well, it's Elvis. Jack Lords. Actually, my favorite of the group was the Jack Lords one. I just liked it. I liked the chiseled sculpting of it. Hawaiian Dawn was super cool, singing into a pineapple, as I recall, I think, right? I don't know, but it was crazy for a while. Crazy. Yeah. Now there's two versions. Do you have a back? Okay, so I'm going to show you something. So you see the back view there? Do you see his hair that comes through the tie strap in the back of the hat, whatever you want to call that, the snapback? On the first run, it's all blue. They forgot to do that in brown. The second run has the brown. If you have one that's all blue, that's a first edition. If you have one that's got the brown there, that's the second edition. That's the only difference.
Do you have any idea what the numbers are on those?
1,000 and 1,000, bro. So
1,000 and 1,000.
Look at him. That's a decal bottom art. That's how we're still figuring it out in 2006, bro. It was new territory then, and with everything going on now and how everything's changing, it's new territory all over again, man.
Industry's constantly changing.
Yeah.
Ever upward. Evolve or die.
Mm-hmm.
We got another one here, which I don't know the history of, to be honest. It was before I got into this, but it's a shag piece. The Hot Wheels, Mattel Hot Wheels.
Oh, yeah, sure. Batua's Vessels.
How the heck did that come about?
Amy Boylan drove it. She was one of the heads of Hot Wheels. I believe she was in a VP capacity, maybe, of online sales. And she's a fan of the scene, fan of the movement, fan of shag, fan of Tiki Farm. Hot Wheel car, shag art, mug, set, done, little mini print, signed and numbered. And I think they sold out in 90 seconds, was her statement on an interview for how quickly they sold on the Mattel website.
Looking back, like that's kind of a common thing now for mugs to sell out pretty quick.
Yeah. Yeah.
At the time, was that unheard of to sell out of a mug in 90 seconds?
Not if it was a shag. No, in fact, we didn't know how to control when we did our early online launches for shag. There was very limited ways. The ways to control the sales and what was in the pipe, and when we could cut off the pipe was not automated, and we pissed off a lot of people. We didn't mean to, but we'd open up the pipe. Let's just call it the pipe. And we'd have, say, 250 mugs, and then we'd basically keep it open for 60 seconds, and we'd shut down the pipe. And then in those 60 seconds, there might have been 387 orders, and we didn't have any way to stop them very early on. So we had to call 137 or email.
Oh my God. So the orders were for mugs that didn't exist. Is what.
Yeah, I mean, but we didn't take the money, but the orders came on through. There were just ways we're developing, and we're able to amend it shortly after our first sales. But for the first 3 or 4 whatever editions or whatever we did with shag, or whatever ones we have that were of that scale of popularity, it wasn't just shag. There was other projects that we did when things started changing and people were fighting to get them. And we'd have to email the people, call the people, be berated by the people because we had no control over it. So it was pretty tense.
In the beginning, did you do like in-person releases?
Sure. Yeah. We did all kinds. Mug releases, event releases, parking lot sale releases, big old Tiki Bash sale releases, Mondo Tiki releases. That was our event that we did up at the Hard Rock. Huge. And we were doing everything to introduce it to people and have them engage and have fun. Parties, bands, releases, artist signings. None of this. There was none of this going on. This was not an industry. We were just having fun and thought the people might enjoy it, and they did. And it grew, and it spread, and I'm glad that it stuck.
Do you remember how long it took to like feel a little bit more comfortable? Like I'm just picturing you with like a suitcase, right? Going to clients with mugs, like, hey, do you want to buy some mugs? At what point did Tiki
You want to
Farm?
see that suitcase?
Wait, do you seriously have a suitcase?
I have the suitcase.
Oh my god.
You want to see it?
Sure.
Okay, can you grab it
Sure.
for me? This is what I used to. This was my icebreaker. This is what I did my calls, and I'm not kidding.
Shut
you.
up, Holden. Oh my god.
This is it. I took this. I would travel to Hawaii with this and check this on through baggage because it's checkable size, and this was an icebreaker. I walked into Hilo Hattie with this, and they became a huge devoted client for years. I had front center table with them for years.
All the stickers on the back. Is that painted? Is the suitcase painted, or is that like screen?
My buddy Flounder painted that for me. I literally carried that up to La Luz de Jesus Soap Plant Waco, to Brat in Hollywood, to Therapy in San Francisco. I believe I walked in the door with the Bauman's, with the Bali High in San Diego. I probably took it to the Buens up at Tiki T, and it's probably been into 100 plus locations throughout the world before I got tired of carrying that stupid suitcase around.
Who made that suitcase
It's
to be that dirt? I go through a suitcase like I go to Hawaii once. I just went to Hawaii, and when I came back, my brand new suitcase was busted.
Oh, wow. I don't know who your suitcase manufacturer is, but hopefully they're not making mugs.
Yeah. Just reading Paula's comment. So did you carry like actual mugs in that?
Oh, yeah.
Were you bubble wrapping them?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Foam. Thick foam. Yeah, I could fit about 18 mugs in that if I wanted to. But I mean, I'm a pretty good traveler. I've traveled quite a bit. So I would actually use that, not just for mugs, but I'd use it for my clothes and everything. I could travel for 5, 7, 10 days with that thing. Just find a laundromat.
Holden, the traveling suitcase tiki mug salesman. Let's pull up another mug. Is it okay if we pass an hour? Are you okay for another 15 minutes?
Well, whatever works. Yeah, like I said, I'm free. I'm good.
Let's pull up the Armada Shipwreck Bowl.
Oh boy,
this is a mug that a lot of people might not even be familiar with. It's one that resurfaces every once in a while, but it's gigantic.
Yeah, it's bigger than it looks right there.
Did you, once you made that, did you have regrets?
Yeah, I mean, it's got so much. Like if you look like in looking at the photo to the left of the rum barrel, you notice how the mass kind of comes in there, and to support the weight of that slip when the molds are pulled. Listen, when that plaster mold is filled with slip, with liquid clay, and then they have to go to pour it out, that thing's like 50 pounds. So that is a big mug. We lost probably at least, I'm going to say, a third of them. And after we ran, I don't know, 200, 300, 400 that made it, we just gave up on it because we were getting too much loss, and because it was just collapsing unto itself, or when we'd fire it, it would crack, like pressure cracks. Let's call them pressure cracks. Yeah.
I can't even imagine trying to lift a mold.
That's the thing. Yeah. Slip. I mean, yeah, we made it down in Mexico with our burly guys down there. That's where we made it. That view. Piz.
I never met Piz, but I've only heard wonderful things.
Amazing man. Amazing.
Cheers to Piz.
Yeah, right on.
Going back to this might be the most collectible Tiki Farm mug ever. Again, correct me if I'm wrong.
I know which one you're going to show me.
You do? I think it's on your shelf behind you too. But let's pull up the George Lucas one.
It is. So you're about to show me. I know what you're going to show me.
Let's see.
That was commissioned by the man himself. That was part of his. I think we ran 250. It was part of his gift bag for his annual holiday party for his employees up at his Skywalker Ranch property. The film canisters were added after the fact to give it structural support because the product was failing with those little skinny legs.
Uh-huh.
Those film canisters. Okay, keep it there for a second. I'm going to give you a quick little funny story. So this was brought to us by a friend of mine who is basically Mr. Lucas's friend of the house. And he's a very neat guy, great father, great family. And he's very much a fan of mid-century. So we created this design, which was a caricature that was done of Mr. Lucas. And Mr. Lucas was fond of the design. And so we had originally sketched some designs for him, but it ultimately came back to this. So as we created the piece, we realized that it was failing because the mass of the upper body from above the legs, really above his butt, was too much for the lower structure of. Can you show the front view again or a side view? Was too much. So those little skinny legs were supporting that mass, and it didn't work. So we came up with the idea of the film canisters. It seems appropriate, right? Well, so I'm on a call with my guy, and the mugs are a hit, and it was the hit of all the gifts that a gentleman of the financial space of Mr. Lucas could give to his employees. This was the resounding hit. And then Mr. Lucas was in the background when my friend called, and I heard something to the effect of this. Hey, is that Tiki guy? Yes, Mr. Lucas, I'm on the phone with Holden. Yeah, tell him it looks like I'm pooping coins. Which my buddy says, Mr. Lucas, sir, you are pooping coins. That happened. And that was my only interface with him. But anyways.
That's too good.
Maybe if I walked up to him someday and I had that opportunity to say, I'm the Tiki guy, pooping coins.
Pooping coins.
I think they'll put two and two together.
That is an amazing story. How much of this mug is I'm assuming the film canisters or the coins, the pooping coins, are decals, and is the shirt decals as well?
Yeah, individually hand applied. They're hand applied because of the curvature. The entire torso has curvature to it, so that if you lay the decals down individual or in a sheet or even in columns or rows, there'd be deformation. Okay.
Yep.
The sheet would kind of buckle and collapse into itself, so those are all laid down by hand.
Seems like an insane amount of work.
It is. It was.
Were you like, when you got a call for a George Lucas mug, were you like, okay, we're gonna do the best possible mug that we can?
It's like, it was actually, honestly, Gabe, it's like any other project. We always want to do the best that we can. And the reason why I really wanted to make this one the best that I could was because my buddy, the guy who became my friend, who actually got me the contract with Mr. Lucas, was a really great guy. And I wanted to do him proud. And because I knew ultimately doing him proud would be good for the entire project, good for us, good for Mr. Lucas, good for my buddy, good for the employees. So it took a little bit of time to get this one through where it is compared to any other mug, but it's cool. It was worth it.
I think this one in particular, there are many reasons that make a tiki mug, more popular than another one, but obviously rarity, but also because Star Wars has become such a thing. You got Trader Sam's Tiki Bar, but now you got Oga's Cantina, and that's always been there in the Star Wars movies. But there's a huge segment of people that consider Star Wars to be tiki, and I think there can be an argument that's made that Star Wars is more tiki than most pop culture things.
Okay.
Yeah. Anyways, George Lucas mug. There you go. Cool story. Two more. Let's look at some new ones that I think are still available on Tiki Farm.
Okay.
The Peg Leg Pirate
Party Parrot.
Peg Leg Pirate Party Parrot from Tom Laura and Big Toe.
Rated PG, PP, Peg Leg Party Parrot.
This mug is insane, dude.
Right
There
on.
is okay. Lately, the Tiki Farm team has been crushing it with all the colors, the intricate washes, everything at an affordable price. There is no other mugs that are being made today at the price that you're making them that are of the quality that you're making. If you don't own this mug, I don't know why you don't. It's a super cool mug. It's
Thank
easy
you
to
for
hold.
that.
Under $100. Yep, can't be grateful.
Yeah, thank you for that. That was very nice of you. SUS.
How did this one come about with the old Big Toe?
Just big toe. Well, that's one that he's got on an old sticker, and the sticker's on my bathroom mirror, and it's like it's a poster pop sticker from like, I don't know, Joe knows better than I do, 10, 15 years ago, and he'd wanted to do it as a mug, and I was like, oh, hell yeah, let's do it. And it's just a great little character. So it's tropical. It's a bird. There's a skull. The skull's tiki. Some people might argue that it could be the antithesis of tiki, given a particular parrot-loving person some people are like, oh, that's not tiki, that's opposite of tiki, but I think it's wonderful.
I'm always surprised by this. This is another thing that confuses me. So like, I get this a lot on my website where people will be like, the mug that you posted is not a tiki. Okay. And just to be clear, when I post a mug that's not tiki, I'm well aware that it's not a Polynesian deity. But what baffles me is you don't go to like Mattress Firm, not to compare myself to Mattress Firm, but you don't go to Mattress Firm and then you're surprised that they sell pillows. You don't say, why are there pillows here? This is called Mattress Firm. You should only sell mattresses. So I'm always confused. It's like, to be clear, I know what a tiki is and what a tiki isn't. Okay. I also don't care, to be frank, because there are a lot of cool cocktail mugs, and the scene, big as it is still small and niche. So
I mean, you look back in time and you look at some of the original Trader Vic's mugs, which, by the way, he copyrighted, and there's a full blueprint of trademark copyright, whatever, on his skull mug, on a few of the other mugs that he did. And what makes a skull mug tiki? Is it maybe it's the name of a drink that has something? What makes a fog cutter mug a tiki mug? There's a lot of nebulosity. It's nebulous, a lot of stuff is, but there's a lot of things that contribute to making it tiki, but it doesn't necessarily mean that they're tiki. It means that they're part of the genre that is exotica, that is tiki, that is the whole mid-century faction, that faction.
Okay, Pill Calmio, whoever commented gave us the Mattress Firm of tiki. No. If that's the takeaway from this interview with Holden Westland, that Gabe is the Mattress Firm of tiki, no. I do not accept that moniker, and I should never have said anything.
You're the Mattress King.
Mattress King. You got the peacock chair, man. You're the king over there. All right, we got one more. I assume he's still watching, unless he had to go to bed. Kenny Ruzick. And one of the guys that
started. Kenny hasn't gone to bed. Kenny's just starting his night.
He did a mug, which I think is loosely inspired, correct me if I'm wrong, by Sven Kirsten's Book of Tiki. He's come up a couple times in this conversation.
Well, I mean, not the Book of Tiki so much as it is the elements of the Book of Tiki.
Correct. Yes. Yep.
It's just a wonderful concept. It's a flared scroll. It's a map. It's jute twined in the center. It's a little aged. It's patinaed. It's got a nice oceanic sea foamy kind of bluish aqua kind of groove. The main elements are in a classic brown. It's just a really pretty piece. It fits nice in the hand. It's elegant. It's quirky all at once.
And dude, that's a tiki mug. Not only does it have one tiki, it's got, I haven't counted them, but it has a plethora of tikis. If there was ever a tiki mug, this is the tiki mug. It's not just one tiki, it's 1,800 tikis. And dude, this is $35, I believe. I hope
that sounds
right.
Right.
It's available now.
Oh, there you go. There you go. There's a correct. Oh, that's Ken too. Ken's given it its provenance right there. Thank you, Ken. Ken reads a lot. Does a lot of things.
What a nerd. What a nerd.
Ken loves certain things in copious amounts.
Nah, we love you, Ken Ruzick.
We do, buddy.
So yeah, dude. I know we're on overtime. I want to be respectful of your time.
All right.
With that said, where do people go? They want to get Tiki Farm mugs. They want to get Tiki Farm updates. Where
Well,
should
if
they
you
go?
want to get Tiki Farm mugs, sign up for our newsletter or go to a local tiki bar, or maybe not even a tiki bar. It could be a chance they have them. Social media as well too. I mean, we're not, we're. It's so funny because we have to focus our chi on so many things that social media is kind of secondary for us. It's not really primary. So we have to. We're busy. We're busy, man. But get our newsletter. We're going to be updating it more, and we've got some things we're working on. There's things in the future for us. We've got a fun couple little left turns we're going to be throwing out there for people that are pretty cool.
Dude, I love your newsletter. Oftentimes, I get notifications that the mugs are going on sale before it's posted on social media. So if you are looking to get some Tiki Farm mugs, particularly the ones that sell out in 90 seconds, like the first edition Peg Leg Party Parrot, that sucker flew off the shelf, the green one.
Yeah.
And some of the Derek Yaniger mugs.
Oh, we've got some great Yanagers coming out, man. Got some great from Wadars. Got some great Kennys in the works. Got a great Big Toe in the works. Got some wonderful Sam Gambinos in the works. Some
Flounder.
Set.
You got more Flounder mugs coming?
We got Flounder coming out. We've got an amazing serving set, a really classy piece that we're doing. This is going to have a matching cocktail shaker and jigger and tiki spoon, and it's a full leopard print interior. Carry case.
Did you just say leopard print?
On the interior. Yeah, why not?
Okay. Why not? That's very Holden Westland.
Yeah, it's just fun. It's part of the whole groove, man.
I love it. I've seen some sneak peeks of like hot rod mugs coming out, so I'm excited for those.
Yeah. Some shifters, some good shifter mugs. Monster shifters coming out. Oh, it's one of my favorites is the monster shifters. That's just my childhood, and the cards, you get the gum with the cards, and I had a shoebox full of them. That whole kind of rat think kind of style is very near and dear to my heart and my innocent memories of
13 Nights of Tiki Frights, man. That's
Say
what
what?
it's all about. 13 Nights of Tiki Frights. This is the show for the spook. Tiki and the spooky. Tiki during the spookiest season of the year.
You have a spookinator.
Can we see that mug you were drinking out of one last time? One little sneak preview. Guys, if you want to purchase mugs, go to tikifarm.com. Easy to remember. One of the most visited tiki websites in the world, tikifarm.com. Follow them on Instagram, but more importantly, subscribe to their newsletter. That way you get notifications of the mugs that are going on sale first. With that said, Holden, thank you so much. We got to give away a tiki mug.
Right on, kid.
From Trader Sam's and Enchanted Tiki Bar.
That mug looks like it's a very high quality.
I don't know who made this mug, but it's very high quality, and people have been crazy about it. So with that said, we're going to do a little quick highlight reel, and then we're going to announce the winner. So let's get a closer look at this gargoyle mug. And the winner this is from Instagram. The handle is at Miss_Q_T, TEA. The winner is from Instagram. The handle is at Miss_Q_TEA. So congratulations, you have won the Trader Sam's Enchanted Tiki Bar 2nd edition gargoyle mug with the Grider Adventure Art Swizzles. Got to give props to them. Contact us at admin@searchfortiki.com within 14 days, and we will ship you your mug. With that said, 13 Nights of Tiki Frights is sponsored by Plantation Rum. We could not do this without their support, so thank you to Plantation Rum. Hopefully you enjoyed the Tree of the Dead cocktail tonight from Mixing Up Tiki. I know I sure did. Guys, we have plenty of more guests coming on the show, so please subscribe on YouTube, subscribe to our newsletter. It does mean a lot. Our next guest is on, let me get this right, it's not tomorrow. It is Thursday, October 5th, and it is Typhoon Tommy. Typhoon Tommy is an amazing dude who's working on the renovation of the Mai Kai, and we're so excited to get the Mai Kai back up and running. So we're excited to talk about the Mai Kai renovations with Typhoon Tommy and everything else that he's doing to create cool, immersive tiki spaces. With that said, Tiki Farm is our other sponsor, not just for tonight, but through 13 Nights of Tiki Frights and on the searchfortiki.com. So beyond that, Holden, it's been an absolute pleasure. You've been one of our biggest supporters since day one. I can't thank you enough personally. You know, I love tiki culture, and I think what Tiki Farm is doing for the industry is pushing it along for everyone else, and everyone owes you a huge debt of gratitude for everything that you do, being the hardest working man in tiki. So thank you, man.
Good, thanks, bro. And really quick, if I ever can't find a photo of a mug in my coffers, I know where to go. I go to your website, and I've used your website more than you know. So
The searchfortiki.com. There you go. All the mugs right on there, and I do make a point of adding all the Tiki Farm ones right away because he makes it so easy for me with all the mugs. Which, by the way, tiki artists, if you want mugs on the website, send me pictures. Don't leave it up to me. Be like Holden Westland and make pictures easy for me so I can support you. And with that said, guys, 13 Nights of Tiki Frights this Thursday, October 5th. Typhoon Tommy, please join us. Follow Tiki Farm on Instagram. Give their newsletter a subscribe. And Holden Westland, it's been an absolute pleasure. Have a good night.